Hey, it's Jeremy from optichouse.com. So, in continuing doing experiments in drawing digitally on the iPad in Procreate, this is one of the pieces that I actually felt came out the best of all the ones I've done. And I think the big difference in this is the figure drawing, the actual sitting down and working out the structure and the anatomy of the image beforehand. And that just helps any illustration, period, just as a standby. I mean, yeah, there are people who can create really spontaneous yet solid structural feeling drawings, and I think it's something that all artists should aspire to be able to do spontaneously. But sitting down and working out the formal basics still always is a winner. In terms of hedging your bets on getting a piece that's going to come out well. If it looks good in the drawing, then it's yours to win or lose in the painting or color stage. The other thing was that when I did go to color, I started by working off of the strong silhouette that I worked out, the anatomy, and kind of worked the way I've seen in some concept art books where people work in just drawing characters in silhouette first and then drawing details on top of them. So really, once I had the drawing worked out and I knew kind of how I wanted the pose to look, I went in, just a black silhouette, and then slowly painted from dark to light into the figure. I'm pretty pleased with the way this one came out. This is sort of what I was envisioning for the other pieces when I first started. And, I was actually kind of thinking, oh, hey, I've got the hang of this a little bit. Get my swagger on with the digital painting. Mind you, it's not the God's gift to digital painting by any stretch of the imagination. But when I was struggling with the tools at the beginning, anytime I'm start to feel like I'm getting a little bit of facility with a new tool, it's it's pleasing to the ego. So I was happy with the way this one came out. The next one I didn't feel was as spectacular, but I do feel like it was a continuation of the direction that I was going in with this one. But I'll tell you one thing that definitely I've noticed when I was making comparisons before about the sensitivity, in terms of between working digital and traditional. I noticed that I couldn't get the stylus if I were to just very lightly drag it across the surface of the screen. There were definitely times where I could drag it lightly enough that it would not register. And I could tell that even though it was not registering in terms of leaving a mark, it still was picking up the fact that an object was going across the screen. And I could do it with my finger, and I could get a little bit of a very, very light mark. So it's much more sensitive to the human finger and I guess the electricity or the capacity, whatever it is that makes the iPad sense that a hand is touching it. That definitely works better with a human hand than it does with a stylus. But I could still actually run my finger or the stylus off the surface incredibly lightly and then have it just not register. And the thing I noticed is that, with traditional media, if you have a pen or a pencil or whatever, well, actually, no, a pen isn't true. A pen, you can run it across the surface, and depending on the type of pen, it might not leave a mark. But with a pencil, it may be incredibly faint. You may have to put your eye to it to see it. But if you run a pencil, charcoal pencil or traditional graphite, across a paper, it leaves a mark. That friction that means that it has made contact with the surface leaves behind what that tool is made for, which is, leaving a markation. Or a demarcation, rather. So that was something that it kind of messed with my head. I was like, no matter how well I work with this tool, it's still not going to replace the feelings I have with traditional. So I'm enjoying the process of experimenting with it. I'm going to continue to experiment, but I figured I'd share, give you an update on how it's going. So that's it for now. Check out my website, optichouse.com. Go be creative.